Welcome to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla, and I'm joined by Matt and Ted, and it's time for our monthly gear talk. I know I've been playing with a variety of different picks recently, and I'm sure Matt and Ted have picks that they prefer when it comes to guitar playing. So we thought today we would talk about guitar picks. And when I say guitar picks, what I really mean is stringed instrument picks, because you can play a number of different instruments with picks. Some bass players use them. I don't know much about mandolin or banjo, but I assume that those would be played with picks as well. So
banjo for sure.
Yeah, so we're talking guitar picks specifically because that's what the three of us in this show are most qualified to discuss. But really, this stuff could apply to picks for any instrument that you might play with a pick. So that being said, for our listeners, fans, viewers who are not guitar players or not musicians, you may not be aware that the material, the size, the shape, the thickness of a pick all have an impact on the sound and playability of an instrument. So hopefully when we dive into this more throughout the show, everybody will learn something new, or at the very least, our string instrument playing friends might have an idea of some picks that they'd like to try out after they've heard the show. So I know I've got a bunch of picks to talk about, so let's get right into it, guys.
I was going to say, I'm kind of excited. It's for the drumstick episode where we talked about how much that varies, and right. As a, not to say novice, but not a, I don't know, stuck in my ways guitar player, definitely interested to hear what you guys have put together for today, because I'm certainly going to learn something.
Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely compare picks to being similar to the talk that you gave on drumsticks. Picks, I think, to guitar players are like drumsticks to drummers. They have a lot of impact on the type of music that you play and the playability and the different sounds based on the materials of the pick and the type of instrument that you're playing. So hopefully this will be to you what it was to us. I know I learned a ton in the drumstick episode, so
it's a good thing that we made our gear talk our pick of the week.
Oh boy. And there it is, folks.
Yep.
Alrighty. So
every Saturday afternoon, every Saturday evening.
That's
check
right,
us out
7 p.m.
for dad jokes galore.
Sometimes even beforehand if you follow us on social media.
Talk about guitar assholes.
Oh God. Alrighty. So going back to picks.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to show these for the people who are watching the video version of the show, but I'm also going to do my best to describe them. And if you don't watch the video version, I'll probably post some pictures on social media. I will probably end up doing close-up shots of these to share during the video version, because I just don't think they're going to be real easy to see on camera here as we go through the show. But I will show them and I will talk about them. So the first picks that I'm going to talk about here are picks that I've been using for years. They are the Pickboy Edges, and these are carbon nylon picks. They're slightly smaller in size than your standard Dunlop style picks, and so for reference, and I do want to talk about this for a moment because this is really cool. So if you don't follow us on social media, you may not have seen this. So Ted, who is an awesome friend and somebody who I have the distinct honor of doing this show with every week, got Matt and I these really cool tins. Matt's holding his up, and they're little round tins, and they're customized. They say on them, pick me, contains, and then mine says Kayla's plectrums, Matt's says Matt's plectrums, and inside are these really cool customized picks that say Distorted Opinions on them. These picks are more of your standard Dunlop style shape and size pick. So when I refer to Dunlop picks, that's what I'm talking about, is something like this. So these Pickboy Edges are definitely smaller than a Dunlop style pick. They're slightly larger than a Jazz 3, and I have Jazz 3 somewhere, but I don't have one on me currently. And it took me a long time when I first started playing guitar to kind of figure out what type of picks, what size picks, which gauge picks I really like the most, and I eventually settled on these. And I like the 88s, which when I say 88, that means 88 millimeters thick. Whenever you talk about the the gauge of a pick you're talking about, the thickness of a pick. And I've kind of switched between the 88s, and I also have some 1mm picks. And for a long time, the 88s were my go-to, and I don't really have a good reason for that other than I knew that James and Kirk from Metallica played 88 gauge picks. And so
there
I was like,
we have it, full circle.
There you go.
Metallica does it, Kayla does it.
There
All
you
right.
go. But I've evolved. I've evolved and found what works for me, and that's not necessarily 88 gauge picks. I think more recently have found that the 1mm is more my style, and so like the thing about these is
1mm seems super thin. I mean, it is thicker than the
That's what she
.88,
said.
I suppose. There it
There
is.
it is.
Here we go.
We're talking about this going to be
is.
an ongoing joke.
oh boy.
Now I'm just thinking
You know,
out
sometimes,
loud.
hey, listen, sometimes thickness matters. I mean, to some guitar players.
Yes.
Engage.
So just for my own reference and to kind of chime in here, I also have a Jim Dunlop guitar pick here. It's a nylon pick. It's 0.88 millimeters. And then in putting all those numbers together, 1mm, yes, it would be thicker than this. So just putting it all together. And also to describe the guitar pick that you're using, and for the audio listeners, it does appear to be a bit shorter in overall length as opposed to the Jim Dunlop. So it's more of a lower profile, if you will. More of a guitar pick nub, for lack of a better term.
They call it a teardrop shape, I guess,
Okay.
which I didn't realize there was a name for the shape of it, but they call these particular picks a teardrop shape. So yeah,
Yes.
it is a shorter, stubbier pick than a Dunlop style pick. And you know, for a long time that worked for me. I recently found, and I don't know if this is something that's always happened and I just never really paid attention to it, or if I've changed my playing style and it's somehow had an impact, but I find lately with these picks that as I play, the pick slowly starts to slide, and at a certain point it ends up being mostly the back of my fingernail on my index finger that hits the strings. And again, I don't know, I thought initially, because these picks, I've had these picks that I'm showing right now for over 15 years. For a while, I actually thought they weren't making them anymore because I went to go buy some, and I forget where I looked, but it said something about them being discontinued by the manufacturer or something, and I was like, oh crap, I can't get any more of these, and these are my favorite picks. I better hang on to them, make sure I don't lose them. So I've got 4 that I've managed to hang on to, that I've played at jam sessions, I played at gigs, I played with a band with these things, and I've somehow managed to not lose them because, as you can see, they're very small. And guitar players are notorious for losing picks. Particularly, like, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who plays acoustic guitar who hasn't dropped at least one pick in the sound hole of the guitar and then had to fish that thing out.
And speaking of losing picks, every time there's a jam session, there are at least 3 guitar picks left on the floor somewhere.
That is true.
Are there any of these?
Not that I've seen.
No
They're
pick boy,
usually
all right.
moderately destroyed picks that are just pieces or end of life, and I wind up just picking them up, putting them on the table down there. Just like next time you guys are over, take your picks back.
Listen, I'm definitely one of the infamous ones that comes with all the gear, and of course, needless to say, I'm like, oh crap, I don't have a pick.
Don't worry, you get the table of rejects.
The spares. The lost and
Which
found
one
of picks.
works?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you find anything that looks like this on the floor, I suspect that nobody else at the jam sessions plays
No,
these. I could
you
be
are the
wrong.
only person that plays a guitar
right.
pick like that I've seen.
Yeah. So
true.
these are you'll know. I don't need to put my initials on these to let everybody know they're mine. So yeah. So I thought initially my problem with the pick sliding was that because I've had these for so long that the grip maybe had worn off of them, because it wasn't until last night when I was sitting down getting ready for this show that I really realized that I'm pretty sure, because I have one here that I'm sure I really haven't played very much that's got slightly more of a point on it than the others, and picks do wear down through playing, so I mean they're not meant to be used forever and ever. You have to replace them from time to time. But the fact that I didn't think I could find these anymore, I've just been playing them. But I found last night, looking through some reviews online, that it may not actually be that the grip has worn off on the picks. It seems that people who have bought them have had issues where they find that even though it looks like there's a lot of grip on these, they tend to slide as they play. So it may just be the nature of the picks, but I don't remember having the issue of always hitting my nail of my index finger across the strings when I played, and that seems to be more and more of a problem for me lately. So if you wanted to try out the Pick-Boy edges these days, you can get them, it looks like, a 10-pack for about $9 on the Musician's Friend website. And I recommend checking them out if you're looking for something new. Like I said, they're kind of in between a Dunlop standard Tortex pick and a Jazz 3. The Jazz 3s I always felt were too small for me, and the Tortex I always thought were too big. So
what is a Jazz 3? Because I don't know what that is.
I wish I had one. If I find one, or maybe I can just find a picture online. If I find one, I will include a picture of it in the show. But they're slightly smaller than the Pick-Boy edges, but they're a little bit thicker. And as the name implies, I think they're really designed more for jazz guitar. I have had some in the past, but I just didn't really like them. They were too small for me, I think. And I was always, I don't know where I got this impression, but I was always under the impression that in order to play metal and do fast solos, the thinner the pick, the better. I don't actually think that's true now that I have, grown older and started to experiment more with different picks. I really actually think that a heavier pick is better for that sort of thing. I have an edge that's a 75, and it's too flimsy for me, in my opinion. I never really liked the 75s. I bought a pack of them just to give them a try, and that's probably why the 75 is the one that has the pointiest tip of all of the edges that I have, because it's hardly been played. The rest of these have kind of rounded a little bit on the end, and I don't know how well that shows on camera, but
I know the difference. Yeah,
I'll post pictures. So I kind of, that leads me into, where I've been at recently, which before I go into that, I'll kind of explain what led me to try these. So I've been following some pick makers on Instagram, and a lot of these guys make these really heavy picks. I'm talking like, I just told you that my go-to pick is about 1 millimeter. These guys are making picks that are anywhere between 2 millimeters and 5.5 millimeters.
You're playing with toothpicks.
Yeah, basically, like the edge of a piece of paper compared to the cover of a hardcover book, basically.
Right? Holy cow.
Between, the difference between the thickness from these different manufacturers. And I've been eyeing this one company in particular, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but a part of why I didn't bite the bullet on buying a pick from this guy is because the picks are 2 millimeters to 4.5, 5 millimeters, and I didn't know whether or not I would want to play a pick that's that thick. That just seemed way too heavy. I, again, up until recently, was under the impression that the thinner the pick, the faster the playing, and it wasn't until I saw this company post a video of one of their artists that use their picks, and the guy's shredding away with this 4.5 millimeter pick, and I'm like, holy crap, I guess you can play pretty fast stuff with these picks. So I decided, I actually have had this box, a little like gift box that I have been carrying around in my Parker case for about 9 or 10 years now. And it had in it a variety of Brossard picks that my dad had gotten me for Christmas many years ago. And I thought they were cool looking, but I never really played them because they were too thick. I just couldn't fathom. I'm holding up a couple of them, and I again don't know how well they're going to show on camera.
Is that as thick as a slice of cheese? I mean, that thing looks that thing's crazy.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy. I don't know the exact thickness. So here's the thing. Apparently, in my research of trying to find out more about these, because they sat in this box and I carried them around and I didn't play them, and my dad is no longer here, I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they're made out of. I don't know how thick they are. I went to go try and find the Brossard website to see if there was some information there that I could compare, what I have to what he's got up there currently. As it turns out, apparently Brossard went out of business probably around 2017, and that's kind of unfortunate. I was able to do a little bit of detective work and use the Wayback Machine on archive.org, which is awesome, by the way, if you are not familiar with it. And it had a number of captures of the Brossard site from years ago. So I was able to go back and see these archived versions of the Brossard site to kind of figure out what I had here and find out a little more about them. So Brossard was owned by Chris Brossard. He was known for his custom luthier and high-end furniture in France, and then in 1997 he moved to the US, where he started Brossard Picks in Stanton Beach, California. And they're custom handcrafted picks, and from what I could tell, they're made out of usually bone. I think this one is rosewood. This one is horn, which I assume... Sorry?
Human bone?
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't think so. Don't know what kind of bone. I'm guessing maybe like cow bone or something, but I really don't know because...
Maybe goat bone? Elk bone?
Could be any kind of bone.
I wonder if maybe they had some goat meat and they made some awesome picks out of the goat bones.
They could have. It's very possible.
Maybe it's made out of a milk bone. Not a sponsor.
And not a dog biscuit either.
If you're interested in sponsoring us, we'll take
Sword Opinions is sponsored by Milkbone, nation's number one dog biscuit.
Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, I don't know what kind. Yes. So I don't know what kind of bone it's made out of. I just know that it's some sort of presumably animal bone. And then we can pretend for this show that these are made out of goat bone. And then this is apparently horn, which I assume again is like some sort of animal horn or
like
antler or something.
Horn? Because we are so metal.
That's right.
Devil's horn.
We'll say it's devil's horn.
Nice. Pick a destiny.
Oh, man. And then this one, I think, is ebony. I'm just taking a guess. It, again, is probably hard to see with me holding it up on camera, but I'll insert some better images of it into the video version of the show. But it's a dark black kind of color. And you can see that many of them are kind of the shape of your standard Dunlop style Tortex picks, but they're definitely thicker and they're made out of very different materials. The bone has kind of a warm sound, where the horn has, I'd say, maybe even a warmer sound. Then there's the woods that also, they have a warm sound, but they vary the warmness. It's hard to describe. The warmness of them varies depending on the material. And so, I mentioned earlier that picks wear when you play them, and different materials wear differently. And I can tell you that having taken these out of the box and started to finally play them, I've been playing mostly with this, what I assume is a rosewood pick, and I can already see just in a few days of playing where the tip of the pick is starting to wear. And so knowing now that Brossard is out of business, and
sounds like collectibles.
Well, that, and since these were a gift from somebody who is no longer here, I'm not sure I'm actually going to really play these a whole lot, but what playing them did do for me was allow me to experience playing a much heavier gauge pick than what I've been playing with my Pick Boy edges. And you can also see the size difference between the two, not just the thickness of the pick, but the actual physical size of the pick is very different. And I actually think I like, because I tend to, when I play, even though there's all this pick here, I tend to grip close to the point. So there's really...
You're making any pick a Pick Boy at the rate you're playing, though, because you're so used to having such a little nub to pick with. You're doing it naturally anyway?
I guess, but I guess the difference is that you're talking about a thicker, less flimsy pick. So even if I'm playing with just very little of it exposed, I'm still gripping onto more of it here than I have to grip onto with these. And since these aren't as flimsy, they don't move around as much. So even gripping them with not much of it exposed, I'm not hitting my fingers on it like I find I do with the Pick Boys. And it could be a combination of things that, causes me to play the same basic way with two different picks and have one slide more so that my finger ends up eventually hitting the strings. But I was pretty impressed actually playing with these, with the playability of them. I actually find that I make fewer mistakes, probably because they're not as flimsy, so they don't like hit other strings. And so I find I really like these heavier picks, but they have a different series of picks. And if you're watching, you can see I've got one that's kind of the Dunlop style larger pick, and then there's one that's almost more like, this is kind of like what the Jazz 3 would be like, and you can see that it's slightly narrower than the Pick Boy Edge. And also, I want to point out, you may have noticed that there are holes drilled into all these picks, which I initially thought was for gripping purposes, but then I was like, well, that's a really weird place on these bigger picks to put a grip, like to hold it up here would be really weird. And I realized when I found the archived versions of the site, the reason for that, I believe, is because they're also intended to be worn as jewelry if you're not playing them, so you can put a chain through them and wear them. And
perfect way not to lose a pick.
That's right. It'd be harder, for sure. I don't know. I mean, maybe if I'm not going to play them, maybe I will wear them as jewelry, or put them just on display on my amp or something, but they can be worn as jewelry because every single one of them has a hole drilled into it. But you can see that these, which are what they call the Solo series, they've got a really big hole in the middle of them. And to me, I don't know, I have a harder time with this particular type of pick than I do with these larger. Oh boy. For those who are watching the video version, Matt is on dad duty right now, so he's gonna step away from time to time, which is why his camera occasionally goes off.
All right, now there we go. So yeah, dad duty. So it's gonna be an interesting gear talk.
It's all good.
Hey,
it's all good.
I just had to, my wife gave me the choice and gave me the opportunity to pick to babysit on our Gear Talk 4 picks.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I had to think of that one. That wasn't as good as I thought, but okay.
They can't all do this.
It all depends. I mean, like we were talking about, it's guitar players. It also depends on, the way that you pluck the strings and,
right.
How close you have, nub scenarios does make a difference.
Oh man. Yeah, it is a personal preference. So while I, can tell you what I like out of these different picks that I'm talking about, somebody else like Matt or Ted may pick one of these up that I don't really like as much, and they might be like, oh wow, I really like this pick a lot. Or I might like the Pick Boy Edges, and they might play them and go, I hate these things. Like,
yeah,
there's
I've
nothing
played
to grip
one
onto.
of your Pick Boy Edges, and not a fan.
not
too
enough
small.
there.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not my type.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, also, I'm just gonna go there. Maybe my hands are smaller too, and so and that is a thing as a guitar player that is a struggle for me because I watch particularly male guitar players with larger hands. It seems like they have a much easier time playing certain things, and my hands are not that big. So for me, like stretching to certain notes and stuff is just an absolute challenge. But it's the same thing with, in my case, I'm right-handed, so that's where I would hold my pick. It's the same thing for me from a pick perspective. Maybe smaller picks work better for me because I have smaller hands. Somebody else who's got larger hands would probably like something more like the Tortex, the Dunlop
Not to be
Tortex
intimidated
picks.
with someone with small hands. They could do much damage.
I was waiting. I was waiting for a comment.
Kayla may have small hands, one notch, but when it comes to jam sessions, she still blows us all out of the water.
Jeez. Oh man, yeah, I don't know.
We are not worthy.
Yeah. I mean, she did get first place in the talent show.
Oh
That's
God,
right.
here it is.
That's right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm always trying to improve, but a source of frustration for me is always watching. And one of the reasons, because I had somebody recently, and I've known that there was going to be a time where this was coming, but I had somebody recently on Instagram. We did our last gear talk on our first guitars, and I posted a picture of my Dan Electro sitting next to my amp, and I had somebody ask me if I was going to post a video of me playing it. And here's the thing. I don't post videos of me playing on YouTube or Instagram or any place that's more public than my own personal Facebook profile because I follow a lot of really talented guitar players and I would feel embarrassed putting my playing out there in a place where everybody can see it compared to what I see from those people. At some point, maybe I will find a song that I'm a little bit more comfortable with, that I feel that I'm not going to screw it up just because I'm recording myself to post this for God knows who to see. But I don't post video of myself playing in those places just because I know what's out there for talent, and I don't want to be compared to that. So
I think I think if you were to do a video, it should definitely be Dragon Forces Through the Fire and the Flames.
Yeah, I know.
Make that the first video from beginning to end.
I don't know that one. I'd have to learn it, and something tells me it would be outside of my
I can barely play it on
abilities.
Guitar Hero.
Well, let's not get started on Guitar Hero because that's
I think
a whole
I'm
other.
sensing another episode. Guitar players versus Guitar Hero.
I used to get so mad at my friends in college who would play Guitar Hero, and they were like, "Oh, I can play this at expert level," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you couldn't play that for crap on a real guitar if you tried." And let me tell you, it's a lot harder. Some of this stuff, even on like, I swear. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
We've officially derailed.
So I do own Guitar Hero.
You had a Les
for
Paul?
those-
Sweet.
I do. I have the Wii.
I've got one.
I have the Wii version. It's collecting dust because it's sitting under my desk, not in the box. But I've played
Because
Guitar
you're a real
Hero.
guitar player, Kayla. That's why it's collecting dust.
Well, yes, exactly. I felt like I was going to get carpal tunnel from playing this thing because it's... Especially... All right, I don't know that I want to go into it because I feel like it's going to derail into another episode. But
this is a teaser. This is a teaser for that episode. We're definitely going to have to talk on guitar players versus Guitar Hero.
we definitely could. And I think maybe we should touch on that some point because I could go on about this all day. But for me, if I know the song and I'm trying to play it in Guitar Hero, I have a hard time translating that to Guitar Hero from an actual guitar. And seriously, it hurts my hands and my wrists to play this thing. I mean, it's not even, the neck isn't even the same width as an actual guitar. You're pressing down on the buttons. It's... I can't play it because if I want to actually be able to play real guitar again, I don't want to screw up my hands playing some freaking video game. So
Ted, you know what we just witnessed?
Yep.
We just witnessed Kayla's part of being of just oh, is that a cat?
That's a cat.
Sorry, yeah, so
in the microphone.
Matt, he's actually over like on the other side of the, like he's on my bed over here. So Matt's not the only one. We don't worry about Matt having dad duty today because my cat interrupts plenty of times. Oh, here he comes. He's gonna come jump on the table where the mic is. Wait for it. Oh God. Yeah, probably banging my mic all over the place. Get off of there. Normally I try to hide this stuff. Not today. Not today. Why bother? Here he is.
Did we ever reference that Distorted Opinions is so raw? It's amazing.
It is. It is. I used to try and hide this stuff in the beginning, but not anymore. Now it's just like,
one
all right.
full hot take, and this is what you get.
Very, very much so.
It is, guys. Welcome to the show.
But I think this is what we witnessed. So I obviously get very irritated with A&R reps, okay? And now we just been witnessed that Kaylee gets very irritated with those that think that are guitar gods on Guitar Hero. So
Yep, we go. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to talk anymore about Guitar Hero.
All right, let's bring this thing back over to guitar picks for my only two seconds of conversation. I can really chime in here. So I know basically not much about guitar picks besides the thickness. I've always played the Jim Dunlop style type of pick. And as a novice guitar player starting out early, I just got in the habit of just buying the Fender brand guitar picks, and I found that the heavy thickness worked best for me. I liked how it didn't. It worked pretty well because I was playing fast, or for those earlier songs we were playing. So that it helped with the speed. It didn't. I don't know. It worked for me. Mediums were okay. My father loves thin picks, and I can't get into it. I don't like how flimsy it is. It just, you go pluck the string and you go right on through to the next one. And I mean, not in my style of guitar playing. I can't. It just doesn't work for me. So I tend to stick to those Fender, medium heavy area of picks, and then actually the Jim Dunlop that I was holding up earlier, and that one being a .88 millimeter, I think is a nice blend. It's I mean, for the Fender categorization of picks that I've been used to, it's a little on the heavy end, but not so much on medium. So it's almost between the two, but I still can play that pretty fine. So kind of where I'm at. I don't play guitar enough as my primary instrument to really take a deep dive into picks. As long as I have something that's somewhat comfortable, I'm more than happy to just use it. Sure. But obviously, we talked about where I am at drums, so that's a different conversation, and one we've already had. So that's all I really have for guitar picks.
Out.
That's right. And I should note also, so you said you like the 88s in the Dunlops. So the 88 in a Dunlop is also different than an 88 in the Pickboy Edges or in anything else, because the material and the shape of the pick also make a difference. And these are kind of, again, you can't really see it on camera, but they're a little bit tapered as you get toward the point of the pick. So that also has an impact too. So Ted's 88s may feel heavier than the Pickboy Edge 88s because of the material that those picks are made out of and the shape of it and the way it's probably not tapered. If you're talking the Dunlop picks, they're usually pretty much flat across. Even the Brossards are kind of tapered as they get to the point. So they may be like a 2 millimeter thickness at the shoulder of the pick, the back of it, but it may be actually thinner at the point because it tapers as it gets there. So material, size of the pick, shape of the pick, that impacts. You can have the same thickness of two different types of pick and they play totally differently. So just want to reiterate that for the people listening. Right.
And it's funny that we're all mentioning about Jim Dunlop picks, because if there's one thing I've actually found myself during this pandemic is it obviously, nothing compares to getting together with everyone and jamming. I found that time is really the practice time, but also really like the improving time and creativity time. Again, I'm just gonna say it, and it's fact. It's not fiction, but bring all of us together compared to all the artists out there, and we'll just blow them out of the water. Why? Because we are real talented artists. Oh, just said it. Anyways, so getting back to the point. But what I found out throughout this this pandemic is ironically picks. And I actually I used to be a Fender type of guy, when it comes down to the picks, specifically mediums of what we've been talking about, the .88s, the .80s. But what I found during this pandemic time is that for comfort level and for pickability, if we want to call it that, I found the Jim Dunlop picks were very similar, but they're different in similar ways. So throughout this time, while playing guitar, to backing tracks, or just picking it up, when I'm not on dad duty, I've been practicing a lot with thin picks and medium picks. So the two that I'm actually going to reference here is I do have a Jim Dunlop 0.6 millimeter, 0.60 milliliter, millimeter, not milliliter, because this is not liquid, pick. And what can we say? I'm a musician, not an English guy. And it's very, very thin, made out of nylon and whatnot. But what I found during my guitar playing is that what I've been trying to build during this time is speed, and really getting to know, the algorithms of different playing types, different scales. And what I've been finding that switching from a thin and then going on to a medium pick, noticing definitely a texture difference. And Ted, just like what you were saying, with thin picks, when you're playing with them, next thing you're hitting a wrong note because it's like ice. We're trying to
you just slide on right on through and
slide on right on through.
Yeah.
So what I've been finding is that doing the switch off between trying to solo with a thin pick and then soloing with a medium pick, medium picks have been a little more accurate when it comes down to intonation and the actual accuracy of hitting those notes. So I've been really happy with Dunlop picks. But just to do a little bit of fact for those that are curious as to what we were talking about, we're really referencing a lot of Dunlop and other picks and whatnot. But this specific one is considered the nylon standard pick, 0.660 millimeter. And then the next one reference is what's called a celluloid, the celluloid type of aspect. So it's a little harder, it's a little tougher, but also a little more. I find that it's a little more gripped as well. Fender also has these types of type of material picks as well.
I was going to say the celluloid Fenders were the ones I was picking up back in the day.
Right. Pretty sure I've had some too.
So the only caveat that I have that I'm not really fond of with celluloid is that, and again, this is only because I'm only comparing one brand. There could be other brands too that I may not be aware of. But the difference between this nylon standard pick and the celluloid pick is that, Kayla, you references this too, that some picks have a grip to them. And what I found really fascinating with this thin pick is that it's got a grip while this one doesn't. So obviously as a guitar player or bass player, or, just a musician, just in general, okay, you tend to sweat, okay, just because you're using all these different types of, body movements that, your hands get, sweaty too. And the next thing you know, you're slipping. So, my theory is going to be is that, when guitar players out there, they have, pretty much 2 packs of full picks on their guitar anywhere.
Or mounted to the mic stand or all
mic
of the
stand,
above.
Anything, beer mug, beer cup, whatever it is. Drummers too, if you go grab one right under the cymbal.
That's right.
Is that the slip. So I found that during this time, I really been focusing more on this thin style with the grip, just to get a little more accuracy. And plus at the same time too, want to be more accurate in the guitar playing as well. The problem with thin picks is that they also break easy. So it's a trial and error when you're picking up picks, when you're anywhere between, thin pick. I'm just going to make this easier for everyone. Thin picks to heavy picks to even extra heavy picks it all differentiates. It all depends on the type of player as well. So with that being said, I know when I first picked up the guitar, that was the next aspect of trying to figure out what type of pick person am I going to be. Now my dad is okay. He's personally and I'm going to reference Fender. He's more of like a thinner jazz type of pick guy, medium. I played that for a while, and okay, like, just like what you were mentioning, it all depends on the grip, because it's kind of got like that teardrop look to it. I wasn't a big fan of it. I was like falling left and right, and also the Fender celluloid picks don't have a grip to them as well.
I remember we were playing shows, and because the celluloid doesn't have a grip, it definitely, I've lost picks right out my fingers just playing along, and it's like, oh, it's gone. All right, guess I'm playing with my fingernails.
Yep. And it's that time when you try to grab another pick, and you're like, oh crap, I only have two, and I just lost the second one. Great.
Yeah.
So that's when you try to grab, the break time too. And there's nothing worse than trying to throw a pick up and be like, okay, I have the pick back.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you after the show.
Excuse me. Gonna need that.
So for those that are curious as to, if you're starting off on guitar, if you're still kind of curious as to, what type of pick you're looking for, I'm gonna reference a few, not go into detail, but I'm gonna reference a few for those that are curious. So Fender has like this, what's called they have like it's kind of like a multi-pack. It's a 12 pack pick. It's a 12 pack that has picks, but it's all different sizes. Okay, everything, even from weird shapes as well. So some of the picks I'm gonna reference and they all go by the numbers too. They have like a numbered type of I almost said number filing scheme, numbering title. So first and foremost, if you get this pick, you're gonna get the 346 Shape Classic. They're all called Shape Classic, so I'm gonna save the time. It's called the 346. It's like a regular pick, but it's a little more wider, kind of like almost like a Superman type of look to it. So if you know of the Superman logo,
diamond-ish,
like a bass pick almost.
Yeah, almost like a bass pick. Yeah. Then you have the 347, which is so it's the teardrop, but it looks a little more wider to it. Then you have the 351, which is the typical standard pick that everyone typically uses when you go to grab guitar picks. This is what it looks like. Then you have the 354, which is the jazz type of look pick. The 355 is literally a triangle pick. Yes, it's a physical triangle. I mean, bomb, bomb, bomb. That's exactly what it looks like. So, so for those that are looking at the video,
this is a bass pick, by the way, but
that's a bass pick. So if you were to compare that to a Fender pick, that would be considered the 346. I know that our friend Harris, he's used in his time what's called the 355. Literally, it's a triangle pick. Can't really explain much more. It's literally a triangle. Then you have the 358, which is it's the jazz pick, but it's a lot thinner. This is personally what my dad uses. Again, I wasn't a big fan of it. But if it's there and I don't have a pick, I'll use it. But I'm not going to spend, hours at time, maybe most half hour, and that's it. And then you have those. So the 300 series are typically, the regular standard series. And then you get into a different series, which is the 400s and the 500s. So in the same pack, you will also get the 451, which is smaller than the standard. So you take this and it's maybe just a little more smaller. So it's bigger. So it's smaller than the standard size, but it's bigger than a teardrop. So it's kind of like that happy medium. And then finally you have the 551, which is it's wider than the standard. So basically it's this pick, but it's bigger. It's not so much, but it's not as bigger and wider than the 346.
All sorts of customization. And so Fender's selling this as a mix pack for purchase, and just to try different things, or
just to try different things. Yeah, if you want to experiment with the type of comfort level as far as when your pick playing goes, or if you're as a guitar player, this would be a great start. I'm not sure. I haven't seen if Dunlop has had a similar pack, but I know that Fender does have this type of pack. And starting off my guitar playing, this is what I used.
how much is the pack? I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so the pack, I'm gonna say, okay, so it's an 8-pack. I apologize, it's an 8-pack what I referenced, but the 8-pack that I reference is only $6.
Oh,
it's literally $5.99
for $6.
For
getting
$6,
a plethora of variety of picks to figure out what you might be into. That's actually a pretty good deal.
Very, 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 very much so. And for those that are curious, and if you could look at the video, I'll show you real quick what this looks like. So for here, if you're looking at the video, this is exactly, it's called the Celluloid Shape Medley, all shapes 8-pack. And as you can see, that top one is that
literal triangle.
It's literally a triangle. That's the 355. Right here is the 346. The wider teardrop look is the 347. And then you have the where is it? You have the 351 right here. The jazz pick, which is the 354. Then you got the triangle, which is the 355. Then you have the 358 right here. And then finally you're going into, these are the two that we're referencing here. So it's the right here. Okay, so I'm sorry, right here is the 550, I'm sorry, the 551, and then right here is the 5.
It's certainly fascinating to see the different shapes, and then when you actually see it's so hard to describe this over audio. And I apologize in advance for how hard it is, but
the easiest pick to describe was the triangle one, because it literally looks like a triangle.
Correct. But on the other hand, when you actually see all of these things put together in the image that Matt is showing, it definitely, you can see the subtle differences. You see the standard pick that we all know, or if you're familiar with guitar, what that looks like. But then how much the others in this pack are shaped slightly different. They're a little smaller. Some are more rounded. So it's certainly fascinating to see the variety in that particular pack, and very, very cool. I didn't realize there were that many different kinds, and it's pretty awesome that they come in one pack for $6. That's pretty cool.
It's like as if you went to a brewery, you have to
get a flight,
beer flight. Try all different types. So if you're a guitar player out there and you're still confused as to what type of pick you're looking for, I definitely recommend this. Check it out. $6 and you get 8 picks. It's literally less than $1, each. I think that would be a great, learning aspect, whether you're, novice or to a veteran, and you'll be very surprised too, that the type of pick you pick, that it's, will differentiate how you play. So some people may find that the triangle pick, which our friend Harris, he was on the show one time, I gave him that pick because I absolutely hated it, and he played it for bass, and I think he was a fan of it, and he went out and he bought himself a 12-pack of those picks, and then eventually he ended up playing with his fingers, which sounds weird. So
as a bass player usually does, it doesn't
bass
always
players play with their fingers.
Some do play with picks though.
It could be worse. It could be like he dropped the picks and then
we'll leave it at that. Anyway,
it could be worse. It could smelling his fingers instead of playing with his fingers.
Oh god,
that'd be worse. That'd be awkward. I drop my picks and I smell my fingers.
Oh god.
Oh no.
Oh god.
We went there.
Anyway,
we love Harris. He's awesome.
I do just want to note. So you said $6 for the pack of 8 picks.
Yep, for
was it?
8s. Yes, yeah. I know. I
So-
referenced in the beginning. I said it was a 12 pack, but I apologize.
Oh, no.
Correction. It's an 8 pack, but for $6. Yes.
So I had mentioned that the edges you could get, 10 of them for $9. So just so that people have an idea of the cost, the Brossard picks that I talked about, and I didn't. Real quickly, if I can, I just want to loop back into, because I was going to tie into another pick that I ordered and why I didn't order that before trying the Brossards. So the Brossard picks, from what I could find, ranged anywhere between $8 to $30, depending on
Each,
the material.
I'm sure.
Each
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
Each pick, depending on the materials, the size of the pick, and the thickness.
That's
of the
not
pick.
surprising, considering what some of those materials actually are.
Right. So
Well, I guess it makes sense if you're going to be paying $30 for the Devil's Horn pick.
I don't know that those were quite that much. It was probably. Actually, I think the most expensive one was a base pick. I think because base picks are typically larger, so there's more material there, so they are obviously going to be more expensive. But the reason I kind of dove into trying these first, now that you know the cost of those versus the cost of getting a pack of like plastic or nylon picks, is because this company that I follow on Instagram, and I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce it right, Jaketo Picks, Jaketto. Their
Jaketo?
picks, Jaketo, or
Not to be
Jaketo,
confused with Geppetto,
right? Exactly,
which is
not the same thing.
Pinocchio's father.
Right. No, this is Jaketo Picks, and they are an Australian-based company, and their picks tend to be in the, I believe, the 2mm to the 5mm range, and they start at, they have what's called the Z series, which is kind of like a Dunlop style pick, but they're thicker than your standard Dunlop, for about $12. But then from there, they go up. So I ended up, after I tried these Brossards and realized I like a heavier pick, I decided I was going to go ahead and order one. And the reason I didn't do it without trying a heavier pick that I already had first is because the pick that I bought was $20 shipped. And it's
From Australia, so.
From Australia. The shipping is included. They don't charge extra shipping. It's untracked, though, so you don't really know where it is at any given time. So I went with the iconic 4.5mm Falcon Uzlam, and their picks, you have to go check him out on Instagram or even look at his website, because these picks look like something from outer space. They're made out of resin, and they look like one of those close-up images that you see from like NASA of a nebula or of the Milky Way. They're really cool patterns, and I like them from an art perspective, but I just can't justify spending $20+ on a pick that I'm not going to actually play. So I had to have some idea, and so I went ahead and I ordered this. It hasn't arrived yet. If it arrives before this show drops, I will try to include a picture of it in the show. If not, I will post on our social media at some point a picture of it. But it wasn't even until, like, the pictures of it don't do justice, because you see it pretty much from the front, like I'm holding this pick up right now. When I ordered it, it was pretty cool, because the owner sent me a personalized video through Instagram with, he, showed it, rotated at all angles, and explained to me that when you order a pick from them, they take it out, they wax it, they polish it, and they clean it up before they send it off to the customer. And so it wasn't until he sent me that video that I actually realized how heavy, because I have no concept, like, in my mind of what how thick a 4.5mm pick is. Even, like, this is probably 2mm. It's probably twice that.
Start stacking them.
Nope.
Right. It's probably, let's see. So if these are both 2.5mm, it's probably about that thick. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. If I like them, I might order more. But again, you're talking a pricier pick because of the material, the thickness of it, and the fact that it's handmade. And given what I said earlier about how easy it is to lose a pick, I mean, could you imagine losing a $20, $30 pick?
You have a great tin to keep your picks in.
Yes, we
That's,
do.
I do, absolutely.
Just saying.
The thing is not losing it if I'm playing out somewhere and it's in a dark space or something. Because I'll tell you, I've sat here in this space at night and played my guitar and had a pick like flip out of my hand somehow, and then I'm looking at the floor because the carpet is blue and it's dark in here, and I'm like, oh god, where did my one of the 4 pick boy edges that I have left that are black end up on the floor here? And then it takes me several days to find it because it's I'm like, I'll suddenly see it underneath the chair or something a few days later and be like, oh god, thank god I didn't lose it. But
And then you'll hear,
I mean, yeah, that happens to me a lot when I'm filming. But anyway, so that's my kind of, to circle back around to what made me finally take out the Brossers, was that I was thinking about pulling the trigger on one of these Gecketto picks, and I didn't want to spend that kind of money if I didn't think I was going to like playing a heavier pick. And we are talking something that's probably twice as heavy as the Brossard picks, but I'm willing to give it a go. If I don't like how it plays, I just won't buy another one, and yeah, it'll probably become a piece of art, but it is what it is. But if you want to check them out, it's on Instagram, Gecketto Picks, JAKETTOPICKS, and you can also check out the website, same thing, jackettopicks.com. Like I said, really cool picks. So maybe you are a person who doesn't play guitar, but you like good art. You might want to buy one just to have as a display piece. But for me, I play guitar. I want to play the thing. And one more side thing, I did find I had a pack of the Kirk Hammett Jazz 3s, which are basically Jazz 3s, but you can see at the top there's a notch taken out of it, which I guess is just Kirk's thing.
I thought it was
and
a heart
does,
pick.
I know, it looks like a heart, like with that notch taken out of it.
I guess it does a little bit.
Kayla loves Kurt Hammett.
We know.
For reference, that's the Pick Boy Edge next to the Jazz 3. So you can see that even, like, you guys don't like my Pick Boy Edges, you're probably really not going to like a Jazz 3, because the Jazz 3s are even smaller than the Pick Boy Edges, although they are heavier than the Pick Boy Edges. They're slightly thicker, and I don't know if they have... I don't know if the Jazz 3s come in gauges, to be totally honest, but yeah, so that's what a Jazz 3 looks like, just it doesn't have the notch taken out if you've got a standard Jazz 3. So I just wanted to show that because I did find one in my little guitar toolbox down here. So that kind of brought my talk full circle. Matt, did you have anything else?
Yeah, so actually just one last thing
Sure.
and whatnot. So I know we're talking about picks and whatnot, but there's also, and we referenced, all these pick brands or not, but you'll actually be surprised that other companies that manufacture guitar products also do pick lines as well. So one specific one, and I referenced them in our other gear talk, talking specifically on strings. But the guys over at Ernie Ball gave me they first and foremost, shout out to Ernie Ball. They're just a great company, great customer service reps. And if there's any issues with any of the strings, especially if you're an Ernie Ball type of person, their customer service is just incredibly phenomenal. In fact, when I had an issue with my strings, they sent me 3 packs of strings, some stickers, and then they sent me a handful of these picks. And if we're kind of referencing the pick gauges that we're looking at, I want to say that these are about mediums. But you'll be very surprised that some of these guitar manufacturers also do strings as well. So big shout out to Ernie Ball for definitely sending me a handful of these picks. Definitely look forward to playing with them. I kept this. I even used this one because I'm keeping it as a collector's. But definitely check them out. I would not be surprised if Boss, who's a big guitar pedal company, has picks as well. Strings have picks as well. Actually, Dunlop, they make guitar pedals. Obviously, we just referenced they make guitar picks. So if you want to do a little bit of searching and whatnot, check out these big corporations of who make guitar products. Check to see if they make picks. I mean, if they have a sampler, kind of like what Fender has, take a gander at one. I couldn't imagine it being more than the $6. Or if it is, do a little bit of research and analysis and check to see if it's something that you might be worth it. I mean, obviously we just referenced in this video everything from a $6 pack of picks to $20-$30 single picks made out of goat bone and devil horn. So just goes to show that the world is
how they got the devil horn. We never know.
Yeah,
but
never know.
Impressive
well,
that they did it.
Maybe that's how he went out of business. Sold his soul
Probably.
to get that.
But that'd be nice. Next time I make some short ribs, when I may save the bone and just make some beef pick bones. beef bone picks.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know that's gonna work.
This seems pretty solid. I don't know about bones from ribs. Those are gonna be more like your jazz size. I don't think you're gonna like them so much. Forget about the material. The size of a rib is not gonna make a very big pick.
When we have our first jam session, I'll just come with a whole bag full of like beef bone picks and be like,
gross. And I'll turn you away at the door.
Don't you dare leave those on my floor of my basement.
Not in this house.
Picking them up.
And they have like its own has its like fermented scent. So when you play it,
that's gross.
The faster you play,
no, you're gonna smell up the place, and I refuse.
Then people will be like, Ted, you making short ribs? I'll be like, no, that's just how I'm fast playing.
Definitely not.
Oh God.
The middle is made out of bone marrow.
Oh. Oh, gross.
Anyway, on that gross note, I think we're at the end of the episode.
I think so. So with that, guys, hopefully everybody has learned a thing or two about picks today. And if you have an idea for a future show, or maybe you're not a musician, you're just a fan of music, but you have questions about music related things, like specific to the instrument. And granted, we can only really talk mostly about guitar stuff and drum stuff, but maybe we can find somebody who knows about other instruments as well. If you've got a question about an instrument, let us know, because we can definitely consider that for a future topic. But there's a number of ways you can reach out to us to do that, or to suggest a show topic for the future, or just to say hi and leave us a comment. The first way is by going over to our Anchor page, anchor.fm/distortedopinions. You can leave us a voicemail over there. You can also find links to all of our social media platforms, as well as a partial list of the platforms that the show is available in audio-only format on. If you don't see your favorite platform there, just search for Distorted Opinions. There's a good chance we're going to be on that platform. It's just not listed on Anchor. The other way you can reach out to us is via email. And we've mentioned this so many times on different shows that hopefully you know by now.
I think I graduated from messing up on that email. So
I think so.
I could share the email with everyone.
All right, for those people who maybe haven't heard the show before, maybe this is your first time listening to us, and it could be your last, given the way this is derailed so many times. Who knows? But if you haven't heard our show before and you want to send us an email, Matt, why don't you give them the email address?
DistortedOpinionShow@gmail.com, baby.
That's it.
Without the baby part, just .com.
Yes. So yes, send us an email, leave us a voicemail message, put a comment on one of our social media pages. We're pretty responsive no matter where you try to get a hold of us. So with that, thank you to everybody for tuning. Yes.
Oh, just want to reference too that, say you don't have a computer in front of you, say you don't have your phone in front of you, but you have an Alexa. You could check us out on Alexa too by just saying, Alexa, play Distorted Opinions, and then you'll get it'll play the latest show.
That's right.
Technology is incredible.
That out. Yes, you can find us in all kinds of different places. You might even be able to use I don't own a Google Home, so I don't know for sure, but you might even be able to tell a Google device to play us, and it might, because we are on Google Podcasts or whatever Google's podcast platform is. I don't even know offhand. So yeah, we're all over the place. You can find us pretty much anywhere.
Literally on the internet, and sometimes during our shows, we're all over the place.
That's right.
That's what makes our show great.
That is 100% accurate right there. That sums it up in a nutshell. So with that, I highly recommend, I don't want to give too much away, but I highly recommend that everybody tune in next week, because we're going to have a really exciting show for next week that we can't wait to share with you guys. And as we do every week, but this one in particular is going to be very exciting for us. And with that, thank you for tuning in this week, and we hope to see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Pick us.